but let me just throw one last thing at you. As an independent voter, I'm one of those people that could piss off all of my friends if I told them who I voted for in the last 5 elections, because it's bounced back and forth between Democrat and Republican. But there is something that as an independent voter, is kind of beginning to trouble me. And if you could just give a couple words on this, I would appreciate it. We've seen a clear difference in the last year about how Republicans and Democrats across the country, office holders mainly, have responded to allegations of sexual harassment from public figures. For example, there seemed to be a pretty quick and stern response to Al Franken and Eric Schneidermans of the world versus the Roy Moores and the Donald Trumps of the world. What do you think that says about the viewpoints and values of the parties with respect to the Me Too movement? What would you say to that? Because there seems to be a pretty clear difference with how the Democratic and the Republican parties are dealing with this. How do you, as a Republican who talks a lot about Donald Trump as an example, we're not going to get into all that. How do you feel about that?
Okay, so listen, there's a difference between national and state, but overall in general, all of this, sexual harassment, simply put, it can't be tolerated. You got to remember, this could be your wife, it could be your daughter, it could be your sister, it could be your niece or nephew, or whoever, somebody that you know and care about. Nobody should have to be harassed. It's as simple as that. It's just wrong, and if it's happening, it needs to stop. End of story. Now, when you take a look at, obviously there's a lot of Democrats going after Donald Trump, comments he's made, and now there's the whole Stormy Daniels thing, and who knows where all the truth of that is. But this is what he was doing in his private life. We have some idea
with the Stormy Daniels stuff and with his pattern on Howard Stern and stuff. We got some idea what's going on there.
Well, look, I wasn't there and I have no idea, but let me tell you how, as it relates to California, because, there was a big hit on Gavin Newsom, with the fact that he essentially slept with his best friend's wife. And this was a real problem. He was married at the time. She was married at the time. And it had some pretty devastating consequences. Although notice that he kept his office. He said he was sorry, and that was it. And he kept on, in his political office with his, ambitious political career.
Trump didn't even have to say sorry. And he kept his office.
But hold on. So there's a big difference here. And the difference is, in Gavin Newsom's case, this was actually a subordinate of his that worked for him at the time. And this is the real problem because, a lot of this, what we're talking about in this Me Too movement is this workplace harassment. And this is exactly what we're talking about here. So I'm not about to condone any bad behavior. Bad behavior is bad behavior, and it shouldn't be tolerated. Because you got to remember, this could be your wife or your husband or your best friend or your child. And this simply can't be tolerated. I actually don't believe that there is a double standard. If you take a look here in California, Gavin Newsom and Antonio Villaraigosa, who also cheated on his wife, have both been given, relatively speaking, a free pass up until today in the governor's race. And I'll tell you this, in the end of the day, character matters. And what also matters is the policies behind that character. And if you take a look, in the case of Gavin Newsom, this is something that, yes, it did happen quite a while ago, but it really does speak to someone's character when, they're cheating on their wife with their best friend's wife. That's a egregious thing, and it's a subordinate time.
I hear you, and I appreciate it, but and it's somebody that lived through, the character matters things back in the 90s with Bill Clinton, and that's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons I didn't vote for him the second time. Oops, I shared a little bit there. The whole.
That's okay. I didn't either. So there you go.
That's right. The whole character matters thing seems to be running, or to my ear, ringing remarkably hollow in the current day and age, given Donald Trump's track record, given Roy Moore's track record. It seems like, and that's one of the things for me that I've kind of heartbroken about the Republican Party of late, is a lot of the rock solid, rock rib, rigid ideals that they seem to used to have seem to be very malleable when it's one of theirs that they need to protect.
See, and I actually disagree with that statement. Let's be very clear. In any high-profile race, the other side is going to throw everything at any candidate that's threatening them. And I think this is actually very clear. I think the difference with Republicans and Democrats is Republicans have a belief in family. They have a belief in faith. They believe that there is value to the core nuclear traditional family.
Democrats don't?
No, actually, I would say increasingly on the Democrat side, that is not a value that's shared by many Democrats, especially coming out of the liberal San Francisco and here in the far left capital of Sacramento. Absolutely not. I think it's the Republicans you see standing up for family and family values constantly. Now, the issue, and by the way, I mean, we there was a bill that just came through the California legislature that theoretically would have banned the Bible and would have told, faiths how they can practice what they can teach people. And there was actually even a Democrat legislator that got up on the floor and said it's time for faiths to evolve with the times. This is not somebody getting up saying, I believe in the American family. And I think the difference is here is that, a lot of Democrats want to try to throw stones at Republicans. And they say, look, you believe in these traditional values and you believe, in common sense morality. And if there is a personal failing, we're going to hold you to the standard that they then also don't apply to themselves. And I think it's that sort of hypocrisy that a lot of people have a problem with. So some people see it today with the president. You and I both saw it with Bill Clinton. But, in the end of the day, character matters. And let me tell you what else matters too. Policy matters. When you pair up character with someone who at the same time is bringing in policies that are completely destructive to the jurisdiction we're talking about, in this case, California and Gavin Newsom, I think you have a very, very bad mix. So here's not just someone who has had, a pretty high profile public failing. It's also someone who is responsible for a city that has turned into something that nobody wants their city to look like. I mean, today San Francisco is a failure in a number of different ways, whether it's income inequality, skyrocketing poverty, skyrocketing homelessness, drug use on the streets, et cetera, or even crime. I mean, there's glass on the sidewalks in San Francisco all over because of the 31,000 car break-ins they had last year. And there's less than 2% chance of apprehending the culprit. So you take a look at, bad policy paired with bad character, and that's a pretty bad combination. That's exactly what Gavin Newsom has going for him. So listen, as it relates to California, I'll tell you this, very simply, what we need in California is we need a new leader. We need real leadership. We don't need the same old tired policies of the California Democrats that have gotten us into this mess. Detroit used to be the fourth greatest city in the United States, and now it's a sinkhole because they had 6 decades of uninterrupted Democrat control. San Francisco has not elected a Republican mayor in 50 years, and we see exactly what's happened to that state or to that city. California has not had a Republican legislature in 39 of the last 40 years, and we can see what's happened. What we need is balance again in California. And by the way, you guys are in the North State. You guys have no representation up there because you're drowned out by all the Democrats that run the state.
Oh, shoot. Aaron, it looks like we have lost Travis Allen.
I'm sorry.
You seem very happy right now.
A California without a Bible.
Unfortunately, it looks like we got cut off.
This is net neutrality, folks.
This is the problem. With the no net neutrality, they got rid of it, and pow! Not even their own can get through. But anyway, so there was a lot there. I suspect there will be a lot of questions, a lot of things to talk about.
Mr. Allen had to go. He's going to go spend some time with his family. He's got to fly to Texas. A very busy guy.
That's right.
And
so
we really thank him for coming on the show, giving us some time. And
I suspect we're going to have a lot of our viewers who are going to have a lot of questions for us, a lot of questions for Travis, a lot of our fans that might have some questions about our interview with him.
Yeah, give us your questions.
But, that's the thing is we do believe in expanding, having a more expanded political conversation, building more bridges from the left and right. And sometimes when you do that, you're going to be talking to people that you might not necessarily agree with, but we really appreciate him giving us his time. We really appreciate him. It was kind of a lot of behind the scenes stuff to actually
Yes, he made an effort. He made an effort to come on, and that's very commendable of him, and we do appreciate Mr. Allen's time.
So